everybody. Thanks for tuning in. As always, thanks for everybody that's been tuning in to the channel. So as most of you know, I did a Presa Canario interview for Battlebred Canines run by Eric Lawton. And recently he did a video with another guy, the dog father. I think it's Superior Canine Kennels, like a 30-minute interview. And he talked about the differences between the Presa Canario and the Dogo Canario. So excuse all the noise in the background. I wanted to do this outside. It's a nice day. I think it's supposed to rain, so whatever. But anyway, so I listened to that video. Don't agree with most of the stuff that was said in that video. So I wanted to do a kind of presentation, if you will, presentation/documentary, to prove that there is no breed called the Dogo Canario. So, you know, I'm going to detail, as you see my notes here, the history, just quick. I'm not going to run down all that. The history of the Presa Canario, the history of the Dogo Canario, side-by-side comparisons of the standards, all of them. We're going to talk about the Amstaff versus the American Pit Bull versus the Dogo versus the Presa Canario, obviously. Genos and Phenos and personal preference. We're going to talk about Juan Carlos dogs, Emer Corto dogs, you know, how the breed was recreated. I'm going to show you guys some footage, the black and the blue and the dilutes. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about the Bardino Mahero. Even though I did a profile on that and I explained to you guys what the name actually means. We're going to talk about, is the recreation Presa actually a band dog by definition? The Presa from the 1980s, really I got stuff from the 1950s to the 2000s. We're going to talk about what's in the name change, and what Dogo actually means. But before I kick that off, I want to talk about what a Molosser actually is, and how that is tied into a lot of breeds that a lot of people don't understand that are actually Molosser-type dogs. So here in my notes I have, the Molosser category covers a wide spectrum of breeds, like I just said, regardless of their type and use, whether the breed is a mountain shepherd dog, a sled-pulling Spitz, a hunting dog, a fighting and baiting dog, or even a toy companion breed. If it is descended from the ancient Molossus stocks dog, you will find it here. Understand that. So, first group of Molossers that were bred to the true original mountain type, regardless of age and their country of origin. The second group of Molossers are not bred to mountain type, regardless of their country and age of origin. Like, these are the Molossers that are products of both breeding away from the Molosser type and crossing Molosser breeds with non-Molosser breeds, resulting in various bull breeds, hounds, and guardians. Understand that. Like, this is a fact. The third group, this is the so-called Molossive cocktail category. So these breeds are either directly linked to the first and second two group of Molossers, but bred away from the common type, such as the bearded shepherds, excuse me, or they are considered to be non-Molossers, but have Molosser blood running through their veins. Again, this is not related to the ages and countries of their origin. So our grouping, or the dogs are of group 1, 2, 3, and 4, and this grouping has no bearing on a kennel club's dog group. So it's talking about, that has nothing to do with the standards of a dog, whether the dog is of Molossus descendant. And most dogs that you see are of Molossus descendant. So to say that the Presa Canario is not a descendant of that, whether it even when you're talking about the Bardino, I just explained that here. And even talking about the mastiff or Molosser dogs that were crossed into the Bardino, they're all related in some way, shape, or form. So I'm going to close this out for a second, and the screen's going to jump up. But so I've compiled a file with many files and pictures and information and things like that from sources. So, you know, we're going to talk about that. So let me bring that file up, and we're going to go into the history as read by the standard of the Pero de Presa Canario. Full screen. All right. So, breed standards. All right. So, I'm going to start with these pictures here. Open this up. So, hopefully, you can still hear me. So, obviously, this is a physical depiction of a Presa Canario. I'll make it bigger as well. So sorry that the letters kind of faded out a bit, but you know, whatever. You can always go and look this up and read it yourself. For the most part, you can read it: nose, muzzle, dewlap, shoulder, sternum. And as you see, this dog has a slightly higher rear. This depiction is of a molossus-type dog, or maybe even possibly a band dog. So let's close that out. Go back here. And now we're going to look at this. This is from the FCI. And this is drawn up. Now, this is what two of my dogs look identical to this. And this dog gives the percentage of ratios 40/60. Slightly higher back again. And this is taken from Ray Gladiator, but this is from the FCI standard. So this isn't her drawing or anything like that. I don't want to get that confused, but you can see this on Eva's page. So let's close that out. And let's see, where do I want to start? Okay, let's start here. Start with the first one. All right. So this is actually the Spanish standard from 2001. So if anyone wants a copy of this, let me know and I will email it to you. So just to avoid, let's see, let's not do that one. All right. So let's go here. All right, so new dog breeds recognized by the FCI. Dogo Canario, Pero de Presa Canario, Canary dog. So I'm not going to go through all that. What I'm specifically looking for is that it? Is that it? I know it's in here. I'm going to have to go back. It does talk about crossbreeding of dogs here, but we're not in here yet. All right, so then we'll just start with the UKC standard. I thought that must have got mixed up in the other folder. Anyway, so here's the history by the UKC. This is revised May 1st, 2017. Copyright 2004. History. The ancestors of the Pero de Presa Canario were probably brought to the Canary Islands by the Spanish conquistadors and coexisted with the indigenous cattle dogs. From the beginning of the 15th century. These dogs served many purposes. Again, versatility. These dogs served many purposes. They guarded the farms. They helped catch and hold cattle. Exterminated wild or stray dogs. In the 1940s, the breed began to decline in numbers, and it was revived again in the 70s, 1974, 1975 to be exact, when the reputable breeders developed and bred Presa's true to the original size and character. The Perro de Presa was recognized by the UKC in January 1st, 2003. So this standard was revised 14 years later. So, again, this is the UKC standard we're talking about. So let's go to the body, because these are things that people always talk about. So I just want to focus more on things where it's got the most controversy. So it says a properly proportioned presa is about 20% longer than tall, and the length of the front leg should approximately be equal to 1/2 of the dog's height. Females may be slightly longer in the body. The withers are slightly elevated. The back and the loin are strong, but without prominent musculature. The top line ascends. Hear this. The top line ascends slightly towards the crope, which is just slightly higher than the withers. The crope is of medium length, wide and slightly sloping. Females normally have slightly wider cropes. The loin is moderately short, muscular, and deep, with moderate tuck up. The ribs are well arched. The brisket extends to the elbow. The chest is broad and deep and well-developed pectoral muscles. Ideally, the circumference of the deepest part of the dog's chest should equal 1/2 times the dog's height and withers. Serious fault. Shallow chest, crope and withers equal to the height. Crope and withers equal to the height. So it's saying that a straight back dog, this is just a UKC standard. Sway back, roach back, disqualification, crope lower than the withers. All right. So now we're going to talk about the color. Here, UKC, any shade of fawn, black, and brindle. Any shade. It's not excluding any brindle colors. It's not excluding blue brindle. It's not excluding black brindle, gray brindle, white brindle, clear brindle, red brindle. And any combination of these colors. The face must have a black or dark brown mass that does not extend over the eyes, with or without a white blaze or patch on the head. Minimum white markings may appear anywhere between the chest and the throat or on the toes. Serious fault. Mass that extends over the eyes. Disqualification. Absence of a dark mask. White markings covering more than 20% of the dog's coat color. Covering 20%, because white isn't a color, it's a lack of color, or pattern other than described. Size. Desirable height. So here's a preference. Desire, that's a preference. It's what you desire. It's what you wish. You may not get it, but it's your desire. Desirable height at the withers for a mature male is 23 to 26 inches. Desirable height at the withers for a mature female, 22 to 25 inches. Minimum weight for a mature male is 100 pounds, and for a mature female is 85 pounds. Disqualifications. A dog with disqualifications must not be considered for placement in confirmation event and must be reported to the UKC. Well, nobody's doing that for sure. So, unilateral or bilateral, I can never pronounce this, cryptor kid, viciousness or extreme shyness, overshot bite, blue, gray, or yellow eyes. I know y'all thought I was getting ready to say blue coat. Non-matching eyes, crope lower than the withers, docked tail, absence of dark mass, white markings covering more than 20% of the dog's coat color or pattern other than described in color paragraph above, and albinism. Okay. So let's exit out of that. Let's go back here. What's this one? Okay, so this is the FCI Presa Canario standard. Open up. Come on. All right. Brief historical summary. Now, this is the FCI standard. A molossus-type dog originating from Tenerife and Gran Canaria in the Canary Islands. It is believed to be the result of matings between the Mahero, a pre-Hispanic dog indigenous to these islands, and other Molossers introduced to the Canary Islands. So, I mean, it's crossbreeding. That's a band dog. These matings produced an ethical group of Mastiff-type dogs of moderately large size, brindle or fawn with white markings with a specific molossus morphology, but yet agile and powerful, having strong temperament, robust and lively and loyal characters. All right, so important proportions. The body is longer than the height at the withers. This characteristic is more noticeable in the females. Skull foreface proportion is 60 to 40%. The width of the skull is 3/5 that of the total length of the head. The distance from the elbow to the ground should be at least 50% height at the withers for males and a little less for females. All right, now let's go to... Let's read the body. Long, broad, and deep, top line, straight without deformation, and sustained well by developed but rarely, top line, straight without deformations and sustained by well-developed but rarely visible muzzles, raising slightly from the withers to the croak. So here it is again. Now I've just read you a UKC standard and the FCI standard. Let me zoom in on this, and they're both talking about a dog that has a higher rear. The height at the croak is 1 to 2 centimeters more than the height at the withers. Croak, medium length, broad and rounded, should not be as long as this would limit movement. The female is usually broader. Chest with great capacity and well-defined pectoral muscles. Seen from both front and the side, it should be well let down to at least the elbow. Thoracic perimeter is usually equal to the height of the withers plus 45% well-sprung rib cage. Okay, so let's keep going. Coat. Well, let's go to color. Sorry. All shades of brindle. Again, all shades of brindle, from warm dark brown to pale gray or blonde. All shades of fawn to sandy. White markings are acceptable on the chest, at the base of the neck, or the throat. 4 feet, toes, and hind feet, but should be kept to a minimum. The mask is always black and should not spread above eye level. Size and weight. Height at the withers for males, 60 to 66 centimeters. Females, 56 to 62 centimeters. Very typical specimens have a tolerance of 2 centimeters. Over or under these limits is accepted. Weight. Minimum males, 50 kilograms. Females, minimum 40 kilograms. Maximum male, 65 kilograms. Females, 55 kilograms. Any departure from the foregoing point should be considered a fault, and the seriousness of with the fault should be regarded and should be in exact proportion to its degree and effect upon the health and welfare of the dog. Pincer bite. Serious faults. Any faults considered severe when affecting the expression and limiting the type of the dog. Incorrect head proportions. Loins and withers are the same height. So having a dog with a straight back is a fault. That's the second time that I've said that. Extremely convergent facial cranial lines, overpronounced stop. Incorrect position of limbs. Square profile. Triangular head, narrow, not cube shaped. Thin, curled, or deformed tail set on high. Saddle or roach back. Light eyes, yellow, very close together or oblique, sunken, or protruding. Excessive undershot mouth, insufficient mask, and missing teeth except P1. And they're talking about premolars. Disqualifying faults. Overly aggressive or shy dogs. Any dog clearly showing physical or behavioral abnormalities. Total depigmented nose. Unacceptable white marks. Overshot mouth. Croak lower than withers. Sloping top line. Blue eyes or unmatched in color. Cropped tail. So those standards are pretty similar. There is slight differences in them, but the base of the dog is still the same. And what is this one? All right, so this is the actual, when it was called the Dogo Canario, this standard here. So we're going to read it. So Dogo Canario. It's going to say the same thing, but we're going to read it. A molossus-type dog originating from Tenerife. It's literally the same standard I just wrote from the FCI. So I'll skip that part because it says the exact same thing. Now let's see if Important proportions. The body is longer than the height. Again, it's saying the exact same thing. So let's keep going. Body, long, broad, and deep. Top line, straight without deformations and sustained by well-developed but barely visible muscles, rising slightly from the withers to the crope. The height of the crope is 1 to 2 centimeters more than the height at the withers. There it is again. The crope, medium length, broad and rounded, should not be as long as this would limit movement. The female is usually broader. So the Dogo Canario standard, the FCI standard, are saying the same thing. So I'm not even going to go through all of that. So I'm going to close this out. I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to open this up. Now, this is from Corsos' book. All right, so the origins and distributions of the breed. Molosser breed, indigenous to the Canary archipelago or the Canary Islands, where it emerged for the function of the dog fight. Essentially, the result of these crosses of the Bardino or Mahero. Bardino means brindle. Mahero is a name. I said this in the profile for the breed that I did on my channel. Mahero is a name for people or things from a specific region in Gran Canaria, namely Fuerteventura. That's what they call themselves. Like, hey, Mahero. Oh, what's up, Mahero? Hey, Mahero. You understand what I'm saying? The dog originally from the islands of Fuerteventura. There we go. The Bardino is. That's what they're talking about. And Molosser dogs imported into the island. So here we have again, it's saying the same thing. These dogs were crossed with the Bardino Mahero and different dogs that were coming in from whether it be the European Union at the time, which was mainly that people that were coming to the islands. So general aspects and character, body description, general characteristics. Dog of medium size with a straight profile of rustic aspect and well proportioned. It is slightly longer than its height at the withers, but the females may be slightly longer. Massive head, cuboid, cube-like in a shape with a broad cranium. The upper lips cover the lower ones with black pigment. Wide, strong, even-placed teeth, brown to medium-sized eyes, erect ears, muscular, cylindrical, shaped neck with thick, elastic, loose skin, slight double chin, short, straight back, base of the tail is thick, ample, well-developed chest, mildly tucked belly, muscular, heavy bone forelegs, round, compact, cat-like feet. Back legs are potent and muscular with moderate angulation, and back feet are slightly longer than the front. So there, it's still talking about the legs in the back are longer than the front. The skin is thick and elastic. Short, harsh hair with no undercoat. The color in range of brindle and tawny with a black mask. So height at the withers, males 59 to 64, females 55 to 59. And those animals that exceed limits should be a good proportion between the size of the legs and the volume of the body. I mean, there it is, people. All right. So I'm going to close this out. We're going to come back here. We're going to open this one up. All right. Color. Tabby in all the spectrums from warm, dark to very light neutral gray or blonde. Tawny in all spectrums to sandy. Occasionally there can be white patches around the neck, collars, or on the limb, socks, although it is preferable that there be as little as possible. Generally, the chest will have a white elongated patch. The area around the eyes is always dark and can be up to eye level. Males, average weight 42 to 50 kilos. Females, average weight 38 to 45 kilos. Defects, minor excess wrinkles in the craniofacial region, serious lack of pigment in the snout, lips, or flews that droop excessively. Excessive paragithism Animals with a sway back, poor mask, incorrect leg conformation, unstable legs, unbalanced character, fragile appearance or poor constitution, badly proportioned head, curled toes with the same width from the base to the top, deformed or amputated. Elimination. Animals suffering God damn it, I can never get these words. Fuck it. I can't even say it. Basically, it's saying that animals that don't have both testicles, they've been castrated, or are sterile, or have more than 40% white on the coat. Now, we read another standard that said 20%. Overshot mouth, lack of pigment in snout, and mucus. All right. So let's come out of here. Now, here we have another standard. Origins and diffusions of the breed. Molossus-type dog originating from the Canary Islands in the agreement and treaties. Goodness gracious, I can't speak. In the agreements and the treaties of, what is that? Cabildo of Tenerife and Tenerife bylaws. And the agreement of Cabildo of Fuerteventura, dated from the 16th century, there is a mention of presa dogs. So presa is really referring to the fight or the catch, the grip, and all, and in many variations. The presa dogs, along with other breeds. Logic makes us think that this dog was probably introduced to the Canary Islands by Spanish colonists. Later, after some time, and thanks to isolation, a new breed was born. They're talking about the Bardino and the Presa, the catch dogs. So, with all the differences in characteristics, it can also be thought that owing to the introduction of other Presa dogs, do you understand what I'm saying? Of other Presa dogs bought from other lands such as Great Britain. Now they're talking about Staffy bulls, English bulldogs, pit bull, Irish pit bull terriers, English mastiffs, and things like that from Great Britain and Cuba. So coming in from Cuba, the type of dogs that they had down there as well, there could be a contribution to the breed from this source. The truth is that the Presa dog with this voluminous head and body, somewhat lymphatic, and with extraordinary temperament, was used in the Canary archipelago for the defense and guarding of homes and estates, for the custody and livestock, and to help the butcher with his work. So, it just said that they brought dogs in, they had some type of influence, and then they used the dogs to do farm work, they helped the butchers, they guarded, and they fought. So let's see. Now we have an overall description. Medium-sized dog with straight profile, again, rugged aspect, well proportioned. It is a mesomorph dog whose body is longer than the height. We've heard that. This is the fourth time we're hearing that. The female has generally got more of an elongated profile than the male. Solid head, square-shaped, wide cranium, lower lips are covered by the upper ones, black mucous membrane, strongly wide planted teeth. So these things are generally saying this, basically saying the same things over and over and over again. Whether it be the Dogo standard or the Presa standard. The Dogo standard, basically they said, oh, the dog can be bigger than 115, 120 pounds. So obviously if the dog's going to be bigger, weight-wise, it's going to be longer, and it's going to be taller in height as well. And then, well, we'll get into that separately. So let's go back, and then let's talk about the colors of the breed. All right. right here. This is Curto's book. They have bred black dogs in Gran Canaria for many, many years and continue to do so. Don't doubt this, because it is a well-known fact that the Presa are selected for their qualities and not for the color of their coats, because that's where they were doing a lot of dog fighting. The color didn't matter. The reality will not change in Canaria, where the selection is made for the dog's aptitudes. The vast majority of breeders will continue selecting and breeding Presas for colors: black, brindle, tawny, etc., taking little notice of the approved standard or what the judges may say, avoiding the participation in the shows and exhibitions. So, but he said they're doing what they want against whatever the standard is, and they're not taking their dogs to the shows to be judged or to be seen. And here you have a black dog being presented right here. So let's come out of there. Oops. Now, here we have another Black Presa Canario by Don Francisco Falcon Lorenzo, photographed in the Banderos municipality of Arucas in 1957. So 1957, this is 20 years before the recreation of the breed. She's got a black dog. Crossing of the breed. All right. So I have made this known to the Spanish Canine Censor with the goal and the hope that they are not fooled by this gentleman. Of course, I will do everything that is in my hand to stop the Canine Society recognizing such a dog, and if things get ugly, we will need to get signatures, as many as we can, and send them along with the letter to the society so that they do not continue this action. This is the whole point of this. It's starting to talk about it. This is basically leading up into how they were making the dogs. So let me just go ahead and pull. Let me see where that is here. I believe it starts here. Let's just read here. To talk today about the Presa Canario is no easy talk. It is possible to say a lot about the multiple and diverse animal. 6 or 7 years back, it was possible for one to refer to the past, to speak about a small number that were left in that moment, no more. So he's saying that these true Presas are gone. Like I said, it's a recreation, so nobody has a true Presa anymore. Everyone has a recreation. And because different breeders in different regions of both islands were doing different things with different dogs in different orders, you have different styles, but they were all agreed and they were all using the Bardino as at least 50% to even be considered a Presa. So, okay, it says the past no longer exists except in our memory. The present is no more than a concept. Exactly, it's a concept. The future, however, is something very different. We all have a future for which we live and that motivates us. The future is our reason to live. In the future, we can be poor, or miserable, fortunate, rich, happy, or not. In conclusion, the future is where we yearn for. 6 or 7 years ago, the Presa Canario enthusiasts from Tenerife and Gran Canaria spoke with great illusions in each own circle of friends and acquaintances. So now it's telling you that they both of these two islands had different ideas of what the Presa Canario was. And we had projects. Of course, however, the plan of the enthusiasts of the Gran Canaria were not the same or even similar to those of people from Tenerife. There we have it again, that there's already a separation between the dog's function and their look. So let's jump over here. It says Gustavo Rodriguez had English and Neapolitan Mastiff, which had been imported from England and Italy. The breeder soon got tired of those Molossers. He liked the Doberman, so he sold them before Gustavo Rodriguez, Carlos Castellano imported Neapolitan Mastiffs, and they didn't waste any time before crossing them. They're talking about crossing them with the Bardino, thinking that in the dogfight, Juan Santana, associate to the local judge, Jamie De Lorenzo, or Yami de Lorenzo benefited from a purchase on a visit I made to Gran Canaria. I visited his kennel in the lower part of Arucas, and I'm going to show you footage from Arucas. So in Arucas, he said, I saw some different breeds: Great Dane, English Mastiff, English Bulldog, Staffordshire Bull Terrier, like I was saying before, a female Mahero stock dog with a brindle coat. These dogs were there to be crossed, focusing on the Presa Canario. So how can you deny that the dog has no molosser or background when shepherd dogs come from molosser type dogs themselves? And here it's telling you, and even if they didn't, these dogs, the Great Dane, English Mastiff, English Bulldog, those dogs are from molosser type, and the Bull and Terrier is a molosser type. It's a bull and terrier. So he said that they were crossing them here. So Don Manuel Alman, the local butcher in Arucas, a great dogfight enthusiast, also benefited from this purchase. Mr. Alman was the owner of Gauche, trained by Pepe Ojeda from Galdor. My dog Piba was the sister to Gauche, but even though I insisted, he refused to allow me to photograph. Mr. Alman's kennels, I saw a black female Neapolitan Mastiff, 2 German Mastiffs, a Doberman, and 2 or 3 other crosses of Doberman, almost adults. 2 or 3 Neapolitan Mastiff cross, I don't know what, with what I don't know. On another visit to Gran Canaria, I saw 50% crosses of Neapolitan Mastiff and Bull Terrier, Mastiff, Mahero stock dogs with Neapolitan Mastiff, or Bulldogs with I don't know what several other crosses, without forgetting the Bull Mastiff crosses. It is public knowledge that these dogs fought. So there it is again. And even down here, you see some were more Neapolitan Mastiff. So he's telling you, and this guy, he's from the islands. He's the one, and we'll get into his history as well. So we're going to open this up now. Here, Bull Terriers and other Mastiff and other Bull Mastiff and so on. This is a continuation. And the Piscata, I'm probably saying this wrong, Piscata Canary style fight is also where, like I said, the name Presa is derived from. In the concentration of the Presas, they spoke to me about Barry, the dog from Taro, 50% Neapolitan, and also a dog of Salvador, and the photographer San Jose, whom I already knew was also 50% Neapolitan. And of course, the concentration wasn't complete without, Demetrio Trujillo, with some of his jet black dogs, and some old enthusiasts that are too numerous to mention. So here again, we're talking about black dogs. We're talking about crossbreeding of the Bardino Mahero into Mastiff and into Bull and Terrier dogs. See if there's any more stuff here before I go on. Oh, let's go down here. So where does this start? Of course, from them, the president down to the last member, nobody owns one of these ancient presses from which I call traditional. The members of the CEPPC have only crossed with Bull Mastiff, with Bordeaux Mastiff, that's the French Mastiff, Dogo de Bordeaux, Mahero stock dog, Bulldog, Staffordshire Bull Terrier, Argentine Mastiff, Dogo Argentino, and other members have crossed before with other creations of the club with Boxer, Great Dane, Mahero stock, German Shepherd, Flanders, the Beauvoir, English Bulldog, and other breeds. So here we are again. There's all these Molosser breeds going into the Mahero. Let's see if there's any more. So a lot of the stuff I just saw, that there were crosses. I took a screenshot and I put it up here so I can read it. I didn't even go through most of this stuff. I mean, I've read this book and I don't know it front to back, so I'm not going to sit there and act like I do. So some of my pronunciation may be off with certain words, but regardless, it's here. You can look this stuff up and read it yourself. So I don't understand how people are in denial the way they are. So Let's go here. Remember, this is the crossing of the breed that I'm showing you right now. All right. Let's see where it is, because I couldn't highlight this. It would have been a lot easier if I could. Wouldn't let me. So the Presa dogs, stock dogs, Porencos, retrievers, as well as others, were all brought to the Canary Islands from Spain by the conquerors and settlers. There are many references to ordinance in Tenerife and the agreements of the island's councils on both Tenerife and Fuerteventura. These dogs were used as shepherds, guard dogs, and for others sacrificed the cattle. To help sacrifice the cattle, and of course their owners would have fought them on the pretext of testing their courage. And of course it is nonsense to think of organized dog fights in the Canary archipelago. So the Presa Canario dog carried out the same functions as its ancestors had done for thousands of years before other latitudes. Then came the decline and total extinction. So right there, this man who's from the islands, who helped recreate this breed, is saying the total extinction. 1991. So nobody has real Presa Canarios. Not me, not the dog father, not you. We have a reconstructed version of a dog that is extinct. And people just need to accept that. So let's jump down here. In previous studies, I have stated that foreign dogs have been used for this purpose with good and bad criteria. I have also spoken about the results obtained. Now it is important to put an end to certain crosses experiments that happen time and time again, but don't offer anything positive. Crossbreeding has been done, not because there were no original specimens. Some crosses were indispensable. So let's read that again. He said, I have spoken about the results obtained. Now it is important to put an end to certain crosses or experiments that happen time and time again and don't offer anything positive. So what they're saying is, he's not talking about putting an end to talking about it. He's saying physically getting rid of the crosses that aren't getting the results that they wanted. Crossbreeding has been done not because there were no original specimens. So he's talking about before the dog went extinct in the 90s. In the 70s is when the dog went extinct. For the most part, there were not very many, a handful. Some crosses are indispensable. Others, several, aren't necessary, of course, and make no contribution except to complicate that already difficult selection of the Presa dog that we are trying to outline. And the best way to halt these crosses, or at least to keep them out of the game, is to elaborate a project for which the standard of the breed, to project for the standard of the breed. It is essential to have a prototype that matches the real Presa Canarios, so well known in the Canaries for several centuries. He says, I have to say that if the Presa Canario dogs don't resemble their predecessors of the past, so that's page 53. See if I can pull up 54. Is this 54? Did I even take 54? That's 56. You get the idea of what I'm talking about. Look at this. This is a Mahero right here. It says Rocky Mahero dog owned by Felipe Reyes. For years, 1990. The blood of this extraordinary specimen runs through the veins of many Imoracuerto Presa Canario dogs. Many thanks to Felipe for your contribution to the breed. So, like I said, there's just a lot of information I got to go through. So most people don't, I'm trying to make this as short as possible, but with a good length so that you can get all this information. Here, biggest day, the Presa Canario dog has been crossed for a long while. However, these Presa Canario dogs are breed, to be honest, nobody knows. But it is safe to assume that the canine Presa population consisted of individuals with similar genotypic, and I've got a whole folder. We're going to talk about this because everybody always talks about phenotypes, but they don't ever talk about genotypes. And the reason they don't talk about genotypes is because they don't know about genotypes. You can't even have the word genetic without geno. It's the same thing with RNA and DNA. You can't have DNA without RNA. You need RNA to make DNA. You need genos to make phenos. It's not possible. And he just proved it. And he said it genotypical first before phenotypical characteristics from their origin. We have knowledge of animals who are supposedly descendant of those Presas past. Nothing could be clearer. There are several photographs of this century and very few from the end of the last century. Photographs of Presa type dogs with very little similarities between them, which most of which without any doubt were the product of crosses. There are Presa dogs with white coats, tawny coats, patched and black, and some give way to the origin of their physical appearance. For example, Quebarro, that belonged to Mr. Polo Acosta from Tenerife in his youth. Quebarro was a pure white dog with an egg-shaped head. He was, according to Mr. Polo Acosta, the son of a bull terrier and a Presa dog from the islands born in the 1930s. The genetic origin of this dog is extremely important and far from more than its fame, far more than the name or its fame. All right. So let's go on to the next one. The purity of the breed does not continue indefinitely in domestic species, only in the wild. The human has always crossbred similar species and otherwise searching for specific results. Preference. Genos, phenos lead to a person's preference. The dog is not an exception, and the and the famous, what is that? Macures or Macuros of Tenerife was another product of a cross between a bull terrier and a Presa of the islands, again according to Mr. Polo Acosta. And who knows how, here's another black dog as well. And who knows how many so name the Presa of the islands as the first or second generation dogs, product of crossbreeding. Nilo, or maybe it's Nilo, a black Presa dog belonging to Mr. Polo Acosta, was well known for having fought with Mocho, property of Domingo Palma of Las Recias, a cross of a Great Dane and a Presa. So here we keep talking about these dogs getting crossed with these Molosser dogs, man. If you're crossing a bulldog with the terrier, which is why they call it bull and terrier, you can't just focus on one and not the other when you use two different things. It appears that we owe concept, breed, and canine terms to the British. In Great Britain, it is said that the first dog shows were organized according to individual functions of the dog. Hence, on one side, where there were hunting dogs, according to the type of the hunt, and on the other side, the shepherd dogs and the Presa type dogs. And this is in Great Britain, but he's Spanish, so he's using the word Presa for prey dog, catch dog, grip dog, bulldog, whatever. Now here we have it says Manuel Mellin with his Presa dog that was used for bovine cattle the years 1980. So you see he's already got the cow in hand. So generally they weren't going to send the dog out to get a cow. This dog or the bull, this dog is not going to be able to pull that bull back. You know, if the bull is 200-300 yards away and you send it out, one, that dog is going to get tossed. I mean, that's just what it is. So they would tie the dog up. See, this is for people who've never done this before, and this is why they don't understand the process. So they say the things that they say about this dog. The farmer or the butcher was usually one and the same, or they worked together. They may have been brothers or friends or cousin, or the butcher owned a farm, and generally the butcher shop was probably the storefront for the farm. So he would walk out into his property, out the back door, side door, wherever. He'd go get a cow, a bull, bring it back, and then he'd chain it up, and then he'd go get the dog to hold the dog in place while they slaughtered they slaughtered the bull. That's what they mean catching and baiting. When they were baiting dogs in the UK, they're sending the Staffordshire Bull Terrier dogs or these pit bull like dogs, these bull and terrier crosses to get these bulls, they would send them 2, 3 at a time. And there's pictures, the bull would toss these dogs in the air. Yeah, some dogs could hold on longer than others and they may have put up a better fight with the bull, but ultimately those dogs are eventually going to get tossed. Generally, that's why the bull was tied up, to limit what it could do. So we're still in crossbreeding, so let's go back down here again. So I would like these fellows of the CEPPC to own up and show some education, saying, yes, folks, our dogs are products of crossbreeding with foreign breeds. That he's telling them that even they need to own up to this shit, that we have carried out in order to produce a Presa dog. This is as close as possible to the traditional Presa, of which we know so little. But of course, we go back before the genotype, the loss of the possible cells. However, don't worry, boys, in spite of everything, despite all that you say, the conference and right, almost everyone knows that the dog that you breed and sell are products of different crosses with imported breeds. So they've been crossing this dog, is what they're telling you, since the 70s. And even before that, the dog, the Presa, the Pero de Presa, in the Canary Islands has always been a product of more than one breed into the native dog. This is what they're telling you. This is what the standards are telling you. This is what I'm telling you. This is what the books are telling you. Don't listen to these guys who've never been to the islands, who've only owned 2 or 3 Presas, and they're all from the same person, and they've only bred 1 litter, but yet they're trying to give you the fact of the matter. Every breeder has its own fan club. I have fans, you have fans. And people who spend this kind of money on these dogs, whether it be $1,000 or $10,000 or whatever in between, if they're spending money with these people, they're not going to want to hear you bad talk their dogs because this is what they like. You know what I mean? This is what they like. This is where they spent their money. So they're going to side with that person. That's just the reality of the situation. Now, let's go on, because I'm getting into other topics and I want to stay on track here. So I've got 2 more screenshots here. See if I can find it. Here we go. Where does this sentence start? Or is it one long sentence? Okay. The committee of the CEPPC has intended the National Canine Century only to recognize the brindle and tawny coats, as there are many of the dogs suffering from protagonism. They intended that this not be considered as a serious defect, when it is publicly known that this has been a result of crosses with the English Bulldog and also recently the Bull Mastiff. They have also opposed the black coat, claiming it is a product of a cross with the Great Dane. Later, they have conceded to negotiate this point. But what do they say about the genealogical tree? This is the real story. And the other club, the Pero de Presa Club, the Presa Canario Club, accounts for some 100 members. Who knows how many dogs have been involved, and that was really had the CPPRC shaking. Why doesn't Mr. Martin say to the true enthusiast that it has its own initiative? The Gran Canaria Club has collected hundreds of signatures in Tenerife and Gran Canaria or Gran Canary to force the National Canine Society to hold a round table in the Canaries, where different representative breeders. Let me go back and read this. This is the real story. And the other club, the Presa Canario Club, that accounts for some 100 members and who knows how many dogs have been involved, and that has really that has been involved and that has really had the CEPRC shaking. Why doesn't Mr. Martin say to the true enthusiast that it has its own initiative? The Gran Canaria Club has collected hundreds of signatures in Tenerife and in Gran Canary to force the National Canine Society to hold a round table, and that's in quotes, in the Canaries, where different representative breeders, club members or not excluding anyone, to discuss or debate over the Presa Canario dog and draw up a project for the standard as was promised. It is clear that the committee members of the CPRC don't want this to happen. Nobody opposes the official recognition of the Presa Canario dog as another Spanish breed, indigenous to the Canary Islands. The opposition is against the deceitful policy of the CEPCR against its demagogy. I can never pronounce this goddamn word. Demagogy. Fuck it. You can read it. It's like I said. Sorry for the mispronunciations. I'm not a spelling bee whiz. So, whatever that word is, and against farce. In this matter, it is a question of all or none. So basically, saying that either everybody needs to agree or nobody's going to agree. I think that may be it for this one. All right, so let's come out of here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is the last screenshot. 7. It's a 7 of 7 for crossbreeding. All right. So 2 months ago, Mr. Martin Bethencourt, you purchased a female puppy, the daughter of a mastiff, from a young man with long hair and several tattoos on his arms for the sum of 60,000. What is that? Pesadas. And I suppose went to the home of Mr. Carlos Bingson. Yeah, Bingson Reveron, actual secretary of the CPRC, the CEPRC. Why this puppy? Please explain to the sector, to the general public. But be careful, do not tell them that you purchased the puppy because you liked it and you wanted it to safeguard your home. No, you purchased the puppy to cross with your Presa Canario, with your Presas, getting ahead of myself, which is in turn the products of crossbreeding. This has been the trigger and the spark of all the controversy surrounding the Presa Canario, the crosses. Crosses that have been hidden. It has been said and also written that all your dogs are genuine, indigenous, recovered from the few animals that are still to be found in different locations. The few animals that are still to be found in different locations. We're talking about the original Presa Canario. So this is dealing with the Bardino. I'm not ready to go there yet. Or maybe I should, since just... and I can just get that out the way. So in the Canary Islands, the Presa dogs have always been called simply Presa dogs. The term Bardino or Bardino, north of Tenerife, is owing to the color of brindle. And later, due to the lack of knowledge, has been given a definition of breed. And naturally may it never occur to anyone to use the term Bardino Canario. Exactly. Now, I already explained to you what the term Bardino or Verdino Mahero means. It means brindle dog, or brindle native, basically, to Fuerteventura of Gran Canaria. That's what it means. There are 3 characteristic colors of the Mahero stock dogs at this time, 1989. Brindle, black with brindle legs, sandy gray, and it is totally false that the black Mahero stock dogs are a result of crosses between the Mahero stock dogs and German and black German shepherds brought over by the Spanish legions. Black Mahero stock dogs have always been bred and used for the stock, as well as guard dogs by the local Mahero folk. Wow. Now, I already did a video explaining this, and I've explained it again, and here it is again. The Mahero folk. This is what they have told me, and that's what they told me too. So that's who I'm going to go with. So that's bringing us into the Bardino. And I already showed this picture, but I'll show it again. So this is an example of a Bardino. Let me enlarge it. Now here is some footage. And I can't mute the volume on here. So I'll just go ahead and, actually I can't, I'm tripping. Gotta stop smoking. So this is a Bardino Mahero stock dog that they would use to cross to make what is the modern day reconstruction of the Presa. And it's also the same type of dog they used back in the days, you know, in the early days to make Presa dogs. And this is also considered a Presa dog. It's still a catch dog. Now look at this dog. This dog's got the same temperament that a Perro de Presa Canario should have. Relentless ferocity. It's stoic. Look at the tail. Gripping dog. Don't doubt that this dog would not fight another dog without hesitation. All right. So let's talk about genetics first. Where did I leave off here? So here, 1986, the Chamber of Sessions in the Parque Corto Vieira y Clavio, which used to be a school in Santa Cruz in Tenerife. Here we assembled the direction of the Spanish Presa Canario Club, a vet representation of the Department of Agriculture, Livestock, and Fishery. So the president of the Spanish Royal Society Canine Century, a member of the Commission of the Spanish Canine Breeds, the president of the CCC, based in Las Palmas, Gran Canaria, and a few others were there out of courtesy more than anything else. It said in this meeting, many things were mentioned. No underlying problems were dealt with, but things were said. The president of the Canine Century spoke out. Of a representative of the Commission of the Spanish Breeds also spoke out. Important things were mentioned. Transcendental things also, maybe only for some. So let's jump down here. I cannot find it. So forgive me, like I'm doing this all in real time. So this is because the Presa Canario is a dog. Dog is a tremendous era. Evidently, the first exposition, it was clear this was true. Brindle dogs, yes, tawny dogs as well, but all completely different from one another. That's what I was looking for. for genetics. Differences in breed was so obvious that differences in breed was so obvious that even the least knowledgeable could notice. So here it's telling you that this is basically talking about genos and phenotypes. So even though they were breeding dogs together, they were still getting varied results. This is what it just said. But completely different from one another, differences in the breed so obvious that the least knowledgeable could notice the difference. All right, let's see. All right. So the function began. Someone said, the first one, please. Sanhile looked joylessly through his glasses as only he knew how at the canary dogs in front of him, and said something to Carlos Salas, and Carlos Salas answered yes or no with a yes or no, and this was continued throughout the function. When coming across the first black Presa dog, this received a no, and thereon wasn't contemplated in the standard. This is in 1989. And hearing on this, those participating with black dogs were furious. So this is telling you the black dogs were there before 1989. They were there when they were exhibiting dogs to basically create the standard. You're hearing that the guy looked at the black Presa, he said no. People who were there with black Presas, so they're saying that there were many people there with black Presas, they got furious because now their dogs are out of the running. Never said that they weren't Presas though. Didn't say they were Dogos, didn't say they weren't Presas. The Dogo Canario term didn't even exist here right now, and they never used that term. So it says that they were furious. Antonio Cambezas of Albomonte made his appearance. He is always everywhere like the Holy Ghost, and this is where he makes a living, and the camera in hand after each judging would immortalize the moment of man and dog. So, and some more and more dogs paraded by with no similarity between them. Here it is again, the genetics. No similarity between them, nor even between siblings. Nor even between siblings. I'm going to read that again. Nor even between siblings. An example, a Tawny dog that following day was eliminated for being untypical or non-standard and also for size. However, the sibling of a male and female, which were both awarded excellent first prize in male and female the following day. And finally, the owner, seeing that the black dogs were being rejected, decided to pass the remaining dogs together. That was something that, like a Judeo-Masonic conspiracy, they look in the eyes of Sanhili and the president, Mr. Valentin Alvarez, and Andres del Rio, not forgetting Carlos Concia, was a poem. Oscar Munez de las Nieves, president of the Club of Presa Dogs of Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, at the head of the group presented his black female, and all hell let loose. Finally, Carlos Salas realized that he had reached a dead end, conceded that he saw no problem, and that the black Presa dogs were shown as well. The National Canine Authorities, after some deliberation with kennels and expert, agreed to allow them to be presented. So this is 1 year between 1989 and 1990 to where the black dogs weren't and then were allowed to come in. They never said these dogs weren't Presa. They were just saying they didn't like the dog being that color. So now they're saying, you know what, it's fine. None of these dogs really look alike anyway, so we're picking the dogs that we like, and, this is how we're going to do it. So yes, first it was a no, and then it was a yes. So let's continue on. Now, I brought this up so that people can read this. Genotype versus phenotype. Genotype versus phenotype, genotype versus phenotype. So, homogeneous dominant, heterozygous, homogeneous recessive, genotype. Do you see what it's showing you? This is a flower. So, a homogeneous dominant, this is the phenotype that it's putting off, B and B. Big B, two big B's. Big B, little g. It's heterozygous, meaning it's going to produce like the dominant. Homo, God damn it. Why am I having a fucking brain fart and a goddamn tongue twister with myself right here? Homozygous recessive. Goodness. Said these words a million fucking times in class. So now it's still a flower, but it's white. It's bringing something back that's recessive. Re means to do again. Recessive. Recessive means to go down, to go back, to go lower. Genotype. The genetic makeup of an organism. So in order to get a pheno, you have to have the genetic makeup of the organism to create a pheno. The physical characteristics exhibited. This is the same thing. So genotype versus phenotype is a comparison of the genetic. So here it is, genetic, geno. You can't have these words without each other. So the genetic makeup and observable characteristics of an organism. So this is the geno passes this to the pheno. Genotype is a set of genes or alias in the DNA that are responsible for a particular trait. There's that DNA, which I said you can't talk about with having RNA. The genos and the RNAs are almost the same thing versus the pheno and the DNA. One is internal and one is external. Phenotype is the physical, like DNA is the physical expression. Phenotype is the physical expression or manifestation of the genes influenced by the genotype and the environment. For example, two white mice with different genotypes could have the same phenotype. Or a person with a genotype for blue eyes could have a phenotype for brown eyes. Come on. This is it. You can't deny this. So we're talking about genos and phenos in dogs. This is basically saying you have a litter of puppies. Every one of those is a phenotype because they can exhibit different genotypes. Do you understand? You got 5 puppies in a litter. One's black, one's blue, one has white, one doesn't. The 5th dog is a brindle. So you've got a black, a blue, a piebald, a white dog, and a brindle dog. Those are all phenotypes of the same breed. They're not different breeds because they come in different colors. It's the same thing if anybody's grown marijuana. Most people I know don't know shit about this, even though they think they do. If you order seeds from Amsterdam Seeds, or wherever the fuck you order your seeds from, and you order Gorilla Glue, you get 5 seeds. They send you 5 Gorilla Glue seeds. They're telling you, anyone who knows, understands what this is saying, it's every one of those seeds, even though they're being sold to you as coming from the same mother plant. So it's the same litter, the same mother plant, the same litter, same mother and father for whether it's a plant, dog, cow, cat, bird, I don't give a fuck what it is. The same parents are exhibiting different phenotraits, the puppies, because the mother has a different set of phenos and genos. The father has a different set of phenos and genos. So you're putting those together and you're going to get some of each, and then you're going to get a combination of what both of those two things bring to the table. So you buy 5 seeds from Gorilla Glue that have the same parents. Each one of those seeds, when grown the same way, can exhibit different phenotypes from the genotypes. One may have One may turn all the way purple. One may only have some splashes of purple. One may not have any purple at all. One plant may be shorter. One plant may be taller. Then they all may produce different styles of bud. And when I say that, I mean maybe these buds are heftier. These buds are thinner. You know, the leaf can be different. One leaf might have 5 fingers on the leaves. One may only have 4, and one may have 6, one may have 12, and these are all coming off of the same plant. But it's still Gorilla Glue. They did a study in Colorado, and you can look this up, and they even made a poster out of it. I should probably try to look it up and find it. But they gave 32 breeders or growers, I should say. They may be breeders, doesn't matter. They gave 32 growers in the same state, in different regions of the same state. So you have this imaginary line or lines called Colorado, because we know those lines are imaginary. They don't really exist. But for argument's sake, within Colorado, 32 breeders were given the strand jet fuel. They all grew it the way that they grow their bud. So you got 32 people growing the same strand 32 different ways in different regions. They all sent in a bud clipping. They took pictures of the bud clippings, they sent them in, and then they made a poster of them. Every single one of those clippings looked different. But guess what? It doesn't matter, because they're all still jet fuel. Now, if one of those growers crossed it into something, then that's something different. It's no longer Gorilla Glue. Now, he could say that it's Gorilla Glue. They didn't test for genetics. You see what I'm saying? So some of those breeders could have crossed, but now it's not Gorilla Glue anymore. It's a cross between whatever they crossed it with, but they can say, oh, it's Gorilla Glue, because no one knew, because they didn't test the genetics. But we're saying under normal circumstances, 32 growers grew the same strand 32 different ways and got 32 different results of the same strand. Is what I'm telling you. So there is no Dogo Canario. That's bullshit. People need to get off of that. So let's come out of this. Let's go back. So we did breed standards, we did colors, we did crossbreeding, we did genetics. So let's do the Dogo versus the Presa. So let's start here. Actually, I took that off for a reason. So let's start here. So this is basically a manuscript that is written by Paulo Consaladilla in 2008, November 1st. Not only 2 different breed standards is what he's titling it. So here we go. The difference between the Presa, and luckily I could highlight on this one so it'll go by quicker. The differences between the Presa and Dogo Canario on this specific occasion, referring to the differences between 2 breed standards. The ideas of an aficionado of the Presa Canario breed with full right to express his own opinions. At the same time, I write them here in hope that they may be useful for some of the enthusiasts who read these pages, so that they understand that the difference between the Presa Canario and the Dogo Canario really exist, even if some may appear clear and others less so. We're going to keep going though. Now, I did this in chronological order, so I didn't skip around on this. I'm only looking for specific information, because not all of this, some of this just went into the standards, which I've already presented.
And that wraps up another episode of NWA Conning Corsos. Thank you for being a part of our Conning Corso community. Remember, you can stay connected with us beyond the podcast. Find us on all major media platforms by searching for NWA Conning Corsos. Whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube. Just hit that follow button to join the conversation and get the latest updates. If you have a burning question or want to apply to be a guest on our show, we'd love to hear from you. Simply shoot us an email at nwaconningcorsos@gmail.com. And if you're a business interested in becoming a sponsor, reach out to us at the same email address. For more resources, exclusive content, and links to all our social media profiles, visit our website at nwaconningcorsos.com. It's your go-to destination for everything dogs. Thank you once again for tuning in, and we can't wait to bring you more exciting episodes where we explore the fascinating world of dogs.